Buon pomeriggio, benvenuti a un'altra al caffè con le startup, una serie di eventi che permette di presentare le startup che sono insediate in urban center. Ad oggi le startup insediate sono 22, di cui 2 sono internazionali, più precisamente vengono dalla Slovenia. Oggi qua con noi Marcello Sardi, che è CEO e fondatore di Evtech for You, una startup che viene da Lubiana, insediata qua in Urban Center. Quindi I'll switch to English now. Good morning, good afternoon, Marcelo. Thanks for being here today and to present your startup. So I'll leave the floor to you, and we are all here to listen your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you for the invite and also to let us to be part of the Urban Center. It's actually a pleasure for us to be here. It connects us, not only our company with the Italian market, but it's also good for us to start growing roots in this specific region and market. So if I will go, let's say, into our presentation, so what we do, and I may not go through the full slides, but some of them. So basically at Evtech for You, we are a company specialized in implementing EV charging infrastructure. So basically to be able to boost the sustainable mobility of municipalities and companies, this is our mission, yeah? And in the way how we do this is we provide 3 core services. One is the advisory, what you need to be able to implement the solution. If you are the city of Trieste, you may need to have some different needs to implement a sustainable mobility for people that are living in buildings or companies or logistics centers or in the motorways, or how to connect, let's say, Venezia with Trieste or with Udine. So there are many different factors that we need to consider if we want to invest in this EV charging infrastructure in the appropriate way, especially at the beginning when the resources are limited, the knowledge is limited, and we have a lot to do. So how to be able to make it more efficiently, yeah? So if we go into the presentation, so there are 5 key areas that we try to resolve to the investor in EV charging infrastructure. The number 1 and the most important for the investor is the regulatory requirements. Yeah? And the regulatory requirements in this area is split in 2 areas. One is the regulatory requirements are creating demand and obligations for, let's say, cities and companies to implement sustainable mobility, such as, let's say, if you are making a new building, that new building needs to have 10% electric vehicle chargers and 20% cabling. So this is a regulatory requirement that applies in the investor in real estate. But also there are other requirements that apply in motorways that they are going to come in a couple of years because they were just agreed at the European level. But how many chargers will need to be installed every 60 kilometers, how, and who is going to have the access to them, yeah? So the regulatory side, and closely linked is the reputational side. Because if you are a company in any field, let's say you are a logistic company, yeah? And if that logistic company doesn't have a plan or even an implementation today to decarbonize their mobility, it's very likely that many of their clients are going to say, I'm sorry, we need to provide our solutions or our products with a company that is zero emissions, so it has a plan to decarbonize. And why I say there is a close link between the regulation and the reputation is because there is a much higher level spectrum, which is the European Green Deal, that is the one that is saying how the European economy is going to be decarbonizing. And part of this European Green Deal is what we call the European taxonomy requirements, which says that every company, every city, every government needs to take some step to decarbonize. And companies that are not doing so, they are going to have really complex financing processes because the market is going to say to you, you are not taking steps to decarbonize, therefore we are not going to be financing your operations because they are heavy in carbon. Yeah. So again, there is the reputational side. These companies, any company, let's say, if you are even in, let's say, producing software, which is no logistics, but then also the software company is going to be quantifying or adding on to the carbon emissions that any other of their clients. And then that is going to be adding on from the European taxonomy perspective. You need to report it. And if the carbon amount that limits, let's say, the no cost, you will have to also start paying taxes upon it. So this is why the full supply chain is really important. This is the reputational area. Then we go to safety, and it is, even though electric vehicles is being proven that they don't carry higher risk of fire or electrocution or any other thing that any other device or vehicle. Of course, if things are not done properly, let's say having the right standards from the electric engineering, fire safety perspective, things can go wrong, yeah? So there are three areas. One is the charger, the other part is the electric installation, and the third one is the car itself. And in this full area, there are different areas of risk, and these areas of risk need to be managed and reduced to do it correctly. Otherwise, your investment becomes into a nightmare. Yeah. The other point is the energy management. Yeah, so energy management is like all the technologies to be able to be implemented in the most efficient way. They need to be implemented considering the usability of the EV charging infrastructure. You don't need to make a huge investment if you don't need it, if the implementation is done in the right way, doing the energy management system. Yeah. So for instance, is it the same to implement chargers in a residential building when people are going to be mainly charging after they come from work until they leave work? You have 12 hours of charging. Is it exactly the same solution that you need for a truck that is going to be charging? You need to charge the truck in maybe half an hour while you are loading that truck. So this energy management system is really important when you are designing the solution for that specific client. And the last part is the asset management area. Yeah. So the asset management side is something that most investors today, or not most, but many investors today are ignoring, which is, okay, I invest in the chargers, but who is going to be taking care of the maintenance of these chargers? What happens if a user goes to charge, and it's the first time that they use the technology that has been in place, because there are like a million different technologies out there. So if you have a user that doesn't know how to use the charger, that specific person should be able to have a contact center 24/7 to be able to resolve any queries. Yeah, so this is what we call the asset management. Also, of course, companies and municipalities, everyone invests because they want to get a return in their investment. Yeah, and then also in this asset management side is when we do the billing, invoicing, financial reporting, usability of the charger. So you have control and visibility of your investment. How is this producing? Is the charger working? And also, of course, we have the link in our revenue with that area that if the charger is not working, of course, we are not going to be charging you. So we link it in that way to also give the comfort to the client that we are going to be doing everything possible that their investment is going to be working well. So this is what we do. This is what I said. I'm not going to go through all the slides. It is very similar in the different areas that I was covering. So these are basically the regulatory requirements and the key areas that are driving this market. But let's say in a nutshell, this is exactly what we are doing today.
Thank you very much, Mauricio. First of all, let me apologize because I called you Marcelo, which is actually was a guy working with me in London. So sorry again. Okay, so I'd like to start just trying to sum up your story. You was born in Colombia, Then you moved to London, then to Ljubljana, now to Trieste. That's really an interesting journey. Could you please tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so I am actually now an electric engineer, as most people will say, because I sell EV charging infrastructure. And I am a lawyer, educated in Colombia. Then I moved to London to study an MBA. I work in investment management for about 12 years. I also live in Singapore for about 2 years, which was missing that. So my expertise is how to identify through regulatory change business opportunities. This is what I am, let's say, an expert about. So during COVID, it was more personal reasons than business or any other reason. We moved from London to Ljubljana, which is where my wife is from. With 2 kids, so it is black and white the reason why we moved there. And after about 1 year working remotely, I was actually working in the investment manager, implementing the sustainability strategy from the investment perspective. And one of the areas we were working at was, well, besides renewable energy and many other areas of sustainability, was EV charging infrastructure. So I identified that in my region, because I look at, even though, well, we moved to Ljubljana for personal reasons, but you know, the Slovenian market and the Italian market and the Austrian market and the Croatian market, well, it doesn't matter the border, yeah, because you just need mobility. It doesn't matter your passport, you just move, and also you're in the European community, so even less restrictions. So when I opened EVTech for You, I never thought that it was going to be a company only focusing the Slovenian market, but a company, even from day one, the plans that I was doing with the guys that were advising me, it was from day one to say, we are going to be a mobility provider for the region. And this is why we ended up also covering Italy and Croatia. We were also operating in Austria for a period of time, but we decided that it is going to be much, because we focus a lot in the Adriatic side of it. So our story is focused on connecting Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia.
Okay, nice, thank you. You cited that you started your company actually in 2020 during COVID, when you moved from London to Ljubljana. Okay, after COVID, in 2022, started the war in Ukraine. How all of this changing in the commodities and energy affected the way you do your business?
That is a great question, because so number one, there is a pushback from everyone in the world about well, of course, the war in Ukraine and Russia, and then it allowed more and more people to understand the power of fossil fuels, yeah? How basically, not a country, but more like a president or a dictatorship, like the Russian one, is pretty much making a war against Europe, yeah? So then in Europe, we say, listen, we need to start finding the way how to get out of this, yeah? This dependency, I mean, like, it is, everyone knows that the German economy pretty much depends in the Russian economy, yeah? Or in the Russian products. And then you start saying, okay, how are we going to be able to live in this in the long term? And then, of course, the energy prices came to the sky, yeah? And then people stopped saying like, oh, just leave the light on, that's it. Then everyone was even like at the micro level, like everyone was saying like, hey, turn off the light, or let's not go out in the car for that much, yeah? Let's not go from Ljubljana to Trieste every day. No, maybe let's do it once a week or every 2 weeks. So we started understanding the value of these commodities. And I think because of that, also many people started saying, and this was also the booming of the renewable energy. I mean, I have a roof, in my company, in my house, and why I am not monetizing it, how I am not reducing my operational cost. And then with this also came into, okay, if I am also increasing the renewable energy, it's also important to start thinking about the mobility side. So I think everyone started just asking questions, reasonable questions, and then that led the change into all these new side of renewables, yeah, or sustainability, renewable energy, sustainable mobility, yeah. And also, if you take it, let's say at the higher level, political level in the US, you have the Inflation Act. What it means is pretty much like, okay, we are going to be pushing towards renewable. And even though the US is really strong in hard commodities like oil and gas, yeah, but then in Europe, even like we don't produce that much. And then how is the only way how we are going to be self-sufficient? Well, maybe going into the sustainability. So it was basically a good opportunity for us to recognize what is our weakness and how we can resolve it.
And does it affect directly your company?
Yes, because more and more people are especially investing in renewable energy. And when they see, wow, actually, I got this solar power plant that I can now even get my return investment in 2 years less because I'm now going to be charging my electric vehicles. And okay, I also want to start decarbonizing the economy, which is the other part where I was talking before about the reputational side or the regulatory side. So I think it was the word as well as all the other packages about sustainability across Europe. And even though in the presentation I didn't mention, but even in this point, but basically, consultancies like McKinsey, they have already recognized that this sustainable mobility market is a 130 billion market by 2031, yeah? And also the renewable energy is 130 billion. So that is also more, and this is why we exist, yeah? What we want is to allow anyone that want to invest in sustainable mobility to do it, but you're not gonna change your job, yeah? Or if you are, I don't know, even an oil and gas company, it may take so long to diversify or to move 100%, but you need to start taking this step from regulatory and reputational perspective. So we want to be there for all these different layers of companies that are fully sustainable or less sustainable, or companies that want to try, or I am in a small hotel and I want to allow my users to come here and charge to attract them. So different models, and this is impacting our business a lot positively. We want more, but yeah, it is impacting positively.
It's starting to change also the mind of people. So it's a huge thing, changing people's mind. So it's something that it takes also times. Something like COVID and work can accelerate somehow the process, but it takes a lot of time. So one of the questions was, how did the business idea come out? And you already gave a sort of answer. It was really interesting. So you look for regulatory changing as a business opportunity. And this is one of the way a startup can have the idea. The idea is the small part of the business, because then you have the implementation that really takes time, effort, energy, like also a lot of hours during the night, so sleeping hours. So how did you look for this regulatory changing in order to say, hey, here we can help, we can answer to the market, a market need? So how did you choose to go to the sustainability, electric sustainability and the mobility?
Yeah, so I think, again, everyone has many ideas, and that is really enriching when I sit down with people, and even like people that are no experts in this area. People come with really good ideas, and it is true. The complex part is to start implementing it, yeah. And it also happened to me, especially because I wasn't an expert in electricity, neither in mobility. Yeah. So the first thing is like, okay, what is going to be the business about? People will need to charge in different places. What do I need? Okay, I need to get some chargers, and after the chargers, I need to be able to get some electricians to put the chargers. Well, yes, there is an area where you make money and it's interesting, and I did it for about 6 months. But then when you start creating more a long-term vision and something that you really want to add much more value, maybe you start complicating things a little bit, but also you start polishing them to make them not too complex, because otherwise they scare out the investors. Yeah. So what I started doing was, okay, well, first I started looking into what are the key elements that companies will need and municipalities will need. Where can I find all these key advantages in the market? Because I can't compete with an electrician, because the electrician, the business model is too different. They are much cheaper than we are, because there is no an additional margin that we are taking, and it is some installation and charger. Yeah. So then when we started analyzing what are the needs, and even today I was having a meeting with my colleagues, and they were saying, we are really happy that we have the full turnkey solution, because we are now not selling actually chargers in one way or another. We are selling the full solution. So we actually start with the asset management perspective. I say, let's say I come to the urban center and I say, listen, would you like to have a company that will be able, even now we are doing financial services for the charging. Yeah. So would you like to pay 100 euros a month for one charger, where the charger is maybe the best technology that we have in Europe, because we did the research about it. The charger is going to have a software that is going to be invoicing, and if you make money of it, additional to, so the 100 euros cost, let's say you also have a revenue that is going to be able to reduce that cost, and even maybe you are going to be able to be profitable, potentially. And additional to that, if the charger is broken down, you don't even need to contact us, because we are now going to be providing you the full asset management solution. And so the full thing, the full spectrum, and then the charger only comes next. Of course, you need to buy the charger to be able to do it, but the way how we approach the market is the added value that we have, which doesn't start with a charger and installation. So we changed that approach during this, especially one and a half year to begin with. And we just transformed the business into what is our competitive advantage, what is our unique selling proposition, what the market is looking for. And of course, you polish that area every day, and you try to simplify it more, also to make it more profitable for us.
So maybe it's easier to sell one charger, maybe the second, but then it's harder to sell 100 or 1,000 charger instead of giving a solution. I think the word is the solution, because you solve a problem. A charger is not a solution. A charger is a charger with different characteristics, good, bad. So you have like the opportunity to have the electricity, but you need to do maintenance, to look for, to choose which is the best one. So I think difference between an electrician or a traditional job is that an innovative startup can give a whole solution, a whole form of solution, and also the customer can come to you, and he or she doesn't need to be, he needs or she needs to be interested in the field, to look for a solution, but not to have the knowledge, and also that it takes a lot of time to have it. So it's like a sort of advisory, a sort of you said before the vision of the company. I think it's really to be with the people who want to invest in the sustainable mobility. So that's really interesting, changing from a product to a solution.
Exactly. I think, because I think in product, the one that will be able to find a competitive advantage is the manufacturer of it. Yeah. Or you are cheap, or you are a premium technology. Yeah. And why we didn't get into developing our own product, even though that was one of the considerations, is because we need to remember that let's say in the Nordics, they have already been implemented sustainable mobility for a long period of time. So if you develop local product with limited budget as a startup, you have the risk that tomorrow this Nordic company will come and they will just set up an entity here and they will start doing it by themselves because you are product. And it is possible, but it is capital intensive. So in the way how we approach it is, we know the market, and because in investment management I know the market has high liquidity, that there is looking for sustainable solutions. Sustainability is in our vein. When maybe 5 years ago, were we talking about sustainability? I mean, no. I remember in London, I used to drive my diesel car every day for 50 minutes to go to my office. Yeah. And did I care about it? Well, I said, like, my God, it's quite expensive, this thing, but never thought about the impact that I was having. Yeah. And I wasn't the only, the full company, and I was working in a corporation, so we were no little. But now I say, like, okay, how I'm going to be able to reduce my footprint. Yeah. And in so many different things. So I think this is also driving investment, because we are the one we should demand this more. We should strongly demand it. Yeah. Like Marco is really good cyclist and he likes cycling. Yeah. That is one of the things that municipalities should be thinking about. And let's say when we talk about, let's say, the advisory solution, when we talk to the city of Trieste, we don't say to them, please put a charger in every corner in the city of Trieste. We say to them, don't put chargers in the city of Trieste, and even push the cars that you are parking in the city outside. Make the pedestrian area a more pedestrian area, more cyclist area. Then you have areas where you should be able to put the cars, and in that area, you should incentivize that there are going to be electric cars and EV charging. But, I think, again, in the area where how we see the business is how we can contribute to truly decarbonize, to increase the quality of life. We can go today and sell many chargers, and I will be on a help desk, just picking up the phone, just trying to sell more, but it is that added value that is the area where we want to focus on.
Yeah, thanks. It's really a good starting approach. It's a good approach. We want to change the life. But I have a couple of questions related to this point. So typically, when you open a startup, you want to conquer the world, let me say. So you want to reach US, you want to reach UK, you want to target the Germany, because there is the real money. Okay, so you decided to do the opposite. You started from Ljubljana, and you decided that your first target market was Italy and Croatia. And could you?
Does it make sense?
Yeah, true. Why you decided to follow this path? And this is the first question, because my second question that is, you studied regulation, so regulatory aspect. And again, you decided to target Italy and Croatia and Slovenia, which have different regulatory aspects regarding the mobility. So did you find something in common that could gather or group your business opportunity towards these three different countries? So these two questions. Why Italy, Croatia, and Slovenia, and not Germany, US, France, US, or UK? And which are the major obstacles that you find trying to challenge these two markets?
So number one, when I look at Slovenia, Friuli Venezia Giulia, and Croatia, I don't look at this as three countries, but I look at it as the communication, the transport between one specific region. Yeah. So I came today from Ljubljana. It took me about 1 hour, 15 minutes to be here. I think I spend more time going from my house in London to the city center. Yeah. So basically, what in my vision, what I see is people from this region just going cross-border. Yes, they go to a different country, but at the end of the day, in terms of mobility, it is the same market. Yeah. Now, what is also the beauty about it is one of these markets can develop much faster than other ones. So for instance, I see the Italian market developing really fast in this area. Now, Friuli Venezia Giulia is catching up with more like the north center of the Italian, the country of Italy. So who is going to be able to provide these services in here if now there is a very heavy competition in the Milan area and the north area? So in the way how I see this opportunity is, okay, Evitech for you have two chances. Or you have a lot of capital to be able to compete in Milan with the largest companies, and you are not a startup, but you are a conglomerate. Or you want to focus in markets that are less capital intensive, but that you are going to be able to start doing the work, changing, building up the relationship, doing the implementation. And also because that is also part of every strategy of every single startup is what is going to be your divestment strategy. It's going to be very simple that these guys, when they get tired in Milan, they're going to come to all the other regions where we are and say, okay, we haven't done anything there. We need to have presence because this is also Italy, this is also Slovenia, it's also Croatia. And then they are going to come and they are going to be looking for our support in this side. So you develop the market, you get a strong, you build up reputation, you build up your brand, and then you also build up your divestment strategy.
Good. So the idea is that Friuli Venezia Giulia region, together with Slovenia and also Croatia, can be seen all together as a single market.
From my point of view, yes.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you, what would you suggest to a startup here in Trieste willing to move to Slovenia and Croatia, according to your experience? Which are the steps that startups and Italian startups need to do in order to generate or build a business in Slovenia or rather in Croatia?
Well, I think it really depends of each business. Yeah, I am in the mobility business. So mobility is like today you can just go and put oil in or you can go and put oil in petrol or in products. It is oil. And basically what we are doing is pretty much the same analogy. You just need to charge your vehicle and keep going. So from that side, there is no differentiation for us, but it is true that there are really strong, let's say, nationalist approaches in each of the countries. And because you need to respect each of the markets and each of those cultures, you need to know that you need to have a local team that will be able to support, to be able to get these relationships. Yeah. So I used to work in global corporations, and I think every single global corporation has their Italian team and their Croatian team, and the simple reason is because you know how to talk to each other. I mean, I have a very close proximity with Italy because I got Italian background, but I'm Colombian, and the Latin, you know, we can connect, yeah? Which actually was, I was saying before, we tried in Austria, and I don't know if that was a business crush or it was a personal crush, but it was very different for me. Maybe I have a much closer relationship with Slovenia and Croatia because of my wife, So I think is basically to respond to your question is, if you are gonna go to these markets, you need to have insight about soft skills, the soft communication with this market. If you don't know how to get this personal feeling, because business is about like, hello, how are you doing? Let's go for a cup of coffee. It's going to be really complex to be able to open that market. And if it is in here in these markets or in France or in the UK, or well, the UK is a little bit less personal in some of the things, but still, yeah. I think in these markets, you need to have, in every market, you need to have your local team, your personal approach to it.
Yeah, thanks. That's really interesting. We have also in the previous interviews that the soft skills are even more and more important, maybe in the startups and in a corporation compared to a small medium enterprise that is focused maybe on the product, is focused on the customers, but not of the soft skills, not asking how are you today, instead of do you like my product? So it's the same. The question is the same. So maybe this is very interesting. And even more, the startupper have more and more these kind of skills compared to not only hard skills, yours about regulation, like scientific skills, so hard skills, but the soft skills, maybe what can help you to have success with the startups. And I have a question. What is the most unexpected or surprising experience you have during your startup journey?
Well, I thought everyone was going to be as thinking in sustainability as I am. I thought everyone was going to say like, oh, thank you. You just came to give us better air and to save us all of climate change. And I think that was, I mean, I used to sell sustainability, yeah? And I now don't sell sustainability. I sell an investment opportunity to invest in EV charging infrastructure. Because if I come to most companies or municipalities and I say, okay, we need to change the way how we move and we need to reduce emissions, like, come on, man, what is the money? Yeah. So anyway, it was good. It was a great education. I thought working in investment and as a corporation, I had a very maybe capitalist mindset, but no, the mindset, and I understand, yeah. Actually, in the way how I approach the business is like, with this investment opportunity, I am still having my passion about sustainability, but I need to approach the market as the market is telling me that I need to approach them. And that is in that way. So I think that was the biggest one. And of course, also in a startup, you start, especially when you start growing your team, I mean, like, there are also many complications because you are really busy. You are also selling. And, you know, this is why the soft skills are very important, because pretty much when you are the founder of a CEO, you're a salesman. And, but also you have people that come to your team because you need to start growing it and you cannot do everything. And it is also, it's complex how to transfer not only your knowledge, but also the passion, and that people are enriched with that passion. That is complex also.
And the vision, the passion and the vision.
Passion, vision, where we are going.
Exactly, in order to go all together to the same point.
Yeah.
So who is part of your team?
So in my team, as I mentioned earlier, I have local people that are the ones that are doing, let's say, the day-to-day sales, like the business development people. Very important. I don't speak neither Italian, neither Slovenian, neither Croatia. So that is one. So I am more the person that gives, let's say, I am more in charge of designing the solutions or sharing with the team or coordinating the team how it works. Then we have electric engineer, of course, to be able to do the installations. And also something that I learned really important is you need to have a person that is communicating your strategy outside. Because maybe we get too we think that everyone understands what we are doing, because for us, start, after 2-3 years doing it, sustainable mobility start getting into like, come on, this is like kind of common sense that a charger is gonna, if someone uses it, is gonna pay for that. Well, like 99% of the market doesn't understand, of how it works. So you need to have this person that is bringing this strategy, this vision to ground to communicate it. And GPT chat is really helpful with that, because they just like talk whatever.
Because you are in Slovenia. Here we don't have a chat GPT anymore.
Of course, yeah, but you just cross the border and you can use it.
Exactly, absolutely. And how do you think the AI can impact your business?
I think digitalization is really important in everything. Yeah. So digitalization help us to, for instance, identify where are the best locations to put the chargers, or the way how people want to get communicated, because sometimes there is also a level of like, you have a level of expertise in a topic, but then you just try to find, let's say, the artificial intelligence to say what people want to hear. And then it's important because, so for instance, I am using now, let's say, GPT, the chat, and the reason is because I just asked, like, what are the benefits of a real estate company to have EV chargers in place? And then it comes, but it doesn't have, of course, the human touch or the area that our vision on it. So I think it is great because it saves us time to write things from scratch and the idea. So it gives good ideas, and it's just a good starting point. I guess it's like when you just go to Google and copy paste an essay, but then you need to make it your own, and you need to make it your company and your vision. Otherwise, every business will be the same also. Yeah, but it is really helpful, the artificial intelligence.
And another question, which is, which advice would you give to a person willing to start a business in the sustainability field?
So I think number one is sustainability is a very niche area still. Why? Because everyone talks about it, but it's still something that most people don't understand. Yeah. So I'm gonna put this as an example of something that I was in a working group just for fun. Actually, it's like a food waste management. Yeah. Not related to me, but I just thought it was interesting. So how much food waste is produced? Yeah. Okay, it sounds like a fantastic market, but then I think, let's say, going to your question is, if you're a startup in sustainability, you need to know if there is a problem in that specific segment. And the problem, I will say, usually starting to how much money are you wasting or paying, wasting, because there is no investment in it. It's just like a operational management and how you will be able to resolve that specific issue. And are people willing to pay for it? How much they want to pay for that? How? Because at the end of the day, a startup is just another commercial mechanism, yeah, to go and resolve something, yeah. And so I think if you really manage to build up or find out this problem, then that solution that people will pay for that. I will actually start with my business in a slightly different way, which is who can invest on us from day -0? Because this is the area where you start saying, my business can be worth something, unless you are just like rocket science and no one understands what you are doing, and maybe in 5 years that is going to happen. Yeah, but I think we need to be careful always into thinking in we will need to get capital at some point. Otherwise, we are going to be in a startup forever. And being in a startup, it is complex. It's really complex. It's really painful. Many times I have to take from my personal pocket, invest more in EV tech for you to be able to pay salaries. And that is not fun, yeah? this is when it starts happening, and especially when you have done it for some time. But if you have that vision and you know, and you have I have already spoken to market, to venture capital, to private equity. I know that there is money. I just continue feeding my company and pushing it, and you have the vision, and you will be able also to communicate to your colleagues. Yeah, like, listen, we are talking to all these companies that are interested in what we are doing, and we are working towards that. Yeah, so I think it's this much solution, problem, solution, and where the money is, the big money is, so you will be able to match it at some point.
Yeah, thank you, because this gives truly a vision on what a startup should do. Start from a question, passing through a solution, and then finally reaching the market. And this is something really important, which is actually straightforward. Sometimes it's clear, but it's not always so clear. So, a totally different question, a naive question. So if you could ask to a genie in a bottle 3 wishes related to your business, what would you ask?
That is a funny one, yeah. So I think the number one is I would like more people to be taking sustainability more seriously. As a business or as anything, but like people are taking more actions. And the reason why I say that is because I am in so many discussions with ministries, with politicians, with CEOs, and for long period of time. And, you know, we are still having a lot of wine and coffee, but no business. So I think this area is something like, like to take it more seriously. I mean, there's plenty of technical information about what is going on. And actually, sometimes I say like, okay, maybe I should go back to finance, just try to cash out as much as possible to save myself and my family, because no one is really acting on it. But anyway, there are people that need to believe in that there is the possibility to make the change. So that part. Second part is the second wish is to have this big investor that it is to be able to put our vision into practice at the highest scale. I am not a believer that a startup can change the world if it is not with the power of capital or the power of a big organization that is where you are going to be able to leverage to be able to grow faster. So we have a great solution, we have a great opportunity, but until we are known with not even with an investor, because I think sometimes it's not only about the money. I can go to the bank and actually get the money that I am looking for.
Industrial partner.
Exactly, but in our case, it is much more like this partner, where we will be able to grow together, tell them how to do that, and they will use their political, their infrastructure, everything to be able to do it. It's not that we don't get offers for investment, but I get offers from companies that I don't want to work with because I know they will keep my company. And I opened this company and I quit finance because I want to do the money, but also sustainability. And the third one, I would love to have a pizza right now. I would love to have a pizza right now. A pizza.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, like we are in Trieste. I know that there are really good places.
That's great. I have just one last question. Do you have an electric car?
I have a plug-in hybrid.
Okay.
Actually, a plug-in hybrid, it is not the best thing for electrification, I will say. You have to be very committed to it because I have about 50 kilometers, which are really good in Ljubljana or in a city. But when you come, let's say, Ljubljana to Trieste, it is not that great. You spend a lot of time in petrol. So one of the reasons is they are still not very affordable, the electric vehicles, we know that. But now they are, and actually we are changing now for the electric. And But yeah, the experience is nice to have the electrification. It's driving an electric car is really, really nice.
The very, very last question. So Colombia, UK, Singapore, Slovenia, Italy. What's next?
I don't know, you know, it's impossible to say. It really depends on where the business is gonna take us, yeah? I am having, for instance, last week I was talking about this business with a really large corporation in Spain that they want to invest in Spain. They don't know how to do that. And I say like, it's not that I will move, well, moving to Spain is not that bad, yeah, but but I don't know. I like cultures. I like moving around, and it may be tomorrow Italy because we are talking to some investors here in Italy that I mean, between Italy and Spain, I don't know which one is better. So it can be a Spain of Spain. I mean, it would be pretty fun just to be in either of the countries. And also Slovenia is great and Croatia. So I really don't know.
Okay, so basically
different.
Open-minded.
Totally.
And I will see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your kindness. And I'll move back to Italy now, to Italian. So, grazie a tutti per la partecipazione in questo evento, al pubblico a casa e alla prossima edizione di Un caffè con le startup. Buon pomeriggio a tutti.